all appreciate that. Thank you, Steve. Love that guy. I'm going to talk today about a project that I've been working on, and that first award that Steve talked about was kind of the beginning of this journey. This is an updated version of that. After that conference, took feedback and did some more research last fall. So I'm also going to be working with that this fall at a workshop for the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning in Psychology. So this is something that I want to continue to refine and submit. So I know psychology is not alone in using drama as a technique, but when you look just at a brief background at psychology, there's a long history of using drama as a technique in various kinds of psychology courses, and a lot of different disciplines, in a lot of different ways, and for different purposes. So the original impetus for this was actually when I came to LeTourneau, started in August of 1994, and taught social psychology for the first time here. I had read this Wann article that had just been published, and how, as a social psychologist myself, this technique he had used in his courses with good success on his part. And I thought, well, I can adopt that for use here at LeTourneau. And so originally, when I had been using this experiment in my classes, I modeled it after his technique. And the idea was to take social psychology as a rich history of pretty infamous experiments and rich learning opportunities for students. And sometimes when you introduce them to experiments, they're like, boring, you know. But this was a technique designed to draw kind of active learning techniques, get them to participate, and so they would write scripts and perform their plays in class. And we would have days where the groups would perform their plays, and they would, you know, illustrate, talk about the experiment, and it was always very successful. The students really liked that experiment. And again, kind of like Carl was saying, they were reluctant at first because they didn't want to act in front of the class, you know, the idea of performance. But they really would get into it, and it would be a lot of fun, and most of the groups would do a really good job. Well, with the advent of modern technology and the availability now of video cameras, because everybody's got one, I decided last fall to kind of switch from live plays in class to video creations. And the students really, when I was talking about that idea, were just like very excited about it. The other enticement, as you can see there, was the Department of Psychology has some lab money, and so this is how we funded this. So I don't know about your departments and the availability of lab budgets, but there were 4-person groups. So basically that meant $50 per student. So I was thinking about, you know, what amount of money would sufficiently motivate a college student, and it would have worked for $5, quite frankly. But when they're like $50, so the videos were very well done. But that's just, if you have some lab money and you can use that, that might be a way to fund some kind of contest. Also, those of you who know me know how competitive I am, so if I can make it a competition, we're going to make it a competition. The groups were assigned by myself. I did not let them self-select. And basically, this social psychology class is a 4,000 level class, so I've had most of the students multiple times by the time they get to this class. And so I deliberately kind of take the good students, the medium students, and the struggling students and mix them up, so that the 4 best students in the class don't get in the group together. So I want them to kind of help each other and pull each other along. Plus, some of the struggling students are the ones that maybe have the technological know-how. So it seemed like, you know, everybody can bring something to the group. So if it was like they had the video camera, or they had some editing experience, or they could do the voiceover, or, you know, there were, with doing a live play in class, with the video reenactment, it seemed like there were more jobs and people could use more skills that they had. I have a handout that I have with me, and I'll pass out afterwards. As Carl said, I would not want to contradict the speech teacher and the handout rule. But I give a list of 18 classic experiments in the history of social psychology. Now, some of those we will discuss in class, and some of those we don't. So They tend to pick sometimes the ones that we discuss more in class, but this last time they didn't. They all picked ones that we didn't really talk about in class, which I thought was really good too. Usually everybody's picking Milgram. Some of you know the shocking experiment, or Zimbardo's prison study that some of you are aware of too. But they all picked different ones this time, which I thought was really interesting as well. So each group has to write a script and then create their video. Each video had to be 10 to 15 minutes long. 5 of the 6 videos were actually longer than 15 minutes. So I didn't have any of the other group was 13. So no group was short on their video. They were actually mad that they had to edit all this good stuff out. So I found that really interesting too. The winning group was a reenactment of a 1966 article entitled "The Importance of Physical Attractiveness in Dating Behavior." This is a really funny video. You can see some of the group members there, and Sydney wasn't there that day, but this is on finals, before the final, we made the announcement, I presented the checks, everybody clapped, and it was a lot of fun. So I know that Colleen is collecting all the handouts and videos and PowerPoints and such, so if you want to be able to watch some of these, you can see some of the other groups there. These are all on YouTube, so I don't know where you guys are going to house them.
We're going to house it on a website. We're not sure yet. So.
All right, but you can go and be able to watch some of these. They did some really good jobs. Okay, so to assess the effectiveness of this new technique, let me give you kind of a little bit of background. There were 24 students in the class, and you can see the breakdown in terms of gender and age and ethnicity. Pretty typical of our LETU psychology courses in terms of those breakdowns. Again, most of them were psych majors. We did have a few others who took the class as an elective. And you can see again the breakdown for year at school, and then self-reported GPA. And you know there's always problems with self-report, but the self-reported GPA of the students in the class was 3.16. Okay, so as I mentioned, I assigned the groups. They picked from the 18 choices that were included in the syllabus, and I did 2 assessments basically of the assignment. After each group picked the article that they were going to do, I developed a 7 multiple choice questions for that article. So they picked them on a Tuesday, and on Thursday in class, I gave them that assessment. Now, in hindsight, I realized that I need to do that differently next time, because some of them actually did read the article between Tuesday and Thursday. So I think the scores are actually a little higher than they should have been. So I'm going to need to develop in advance those questions rather than waiting for each group to self-select. I didn't think anybody would actually read it, but a few of them did. But I gave them 7 multiple choice questions about the article that they picked, and then gave them that same 7 multiple choice questions again on the day they did their video in class. So pre-test, post-test measure there. Also on that day they did their video in class, they showed their video. I gave them an evaluation survey, again, just kind of self-report about what they thought about the assignment. So I had those 2, and that was 17 questions on that. Right? So results, again, I'll spare you all the statistical mumbo-jumbo. It's there, you know, it's really cool. Like Carl said, it makes me look really smart. But basically what you see here is that beforehand, out of the 7, they had a mean number right of 3.17 out of 7 questions beforehand, and that went up to 5.46, and that was statistically significant. So the assessment shows that they, as a result of focusing on that experiment, they learned more about that, and the strength of relationship was strong as well. Now, the assessment, and again, the results, I'll give those handouts when we're done here, is all the whole table of all 17 questions is in there. But these were the 3 top rated items. So this was a 1 to 7 scale, 1 being strongly disagree, 7 being strongly agree. Okay? So the top rated out of all of those questions was I enjoyed watching other students' video reenactments of experiments. And one thing that I always struggle with in terms of doing the group work, whether they were performing the plays in class or now doing the video, is making sure that everyone stays engaged, right? I mean, the group that's either performing or showing their video, they're engaged, but what about everybody else in the class? And so I was glad to see that that was actually the top rated of all the questions, was that they stayed engaged, they enjoyed watching the videos, and I hope that they were learning not only about their own experiment, but about the other experiments that were done as well. They liked the creativity of the assignment, and of course want me to continue to use that in the future. So those were the top 3 rated. Now, these are the lowest 3, but you can see even at that, we're still talking about above the midpoint of the scale. So all 17 items came out very highly rated, and that they enjoyed this experience. Right? Here's the entire table with all 17 items, their means and standard deviations, and again, that's in the handout. The results of my assessment are similar to what Wann had in that original article in the overall self-assessment. He did not do a pre-test, post-test measure, so that's kind of what I added this time to try and make the assessment more solid, and that's what we're working on in terms of the conference I mentioned and trying to get this article published. So I mentioned the idea of my most common fear is often when you're having students do presentations in class, whether that's individual or group, you just lose the rest of the class. And on a Tuesday, Thursday, when you have an hour and 20 minutes, that, to lose the class is very difficult. And so I was very happy to see that students stayed engaged. And I think part of that, too, was the contest issue. Because I had an assessment that had 10 questions. And so the groups did not rate their own videos. Okay? So there were 6 groups, so they rated the 5 that they weren't in. I totaled up those points, and the group with the highest points won the contest. So they were not allowed to give themselves all 10s and that kind of thing. So they was actually pretty close, and most of the videos were pretty well rated by their peers. So that was good too. And I thought overall that all the groups did a pretty good job. There were some technical issues. One group lost its audio file, and so there were some issues there. But overall, it went a lot more smoothly than I had anticipated. The Department of Psychology does have a video camera, and one of the groups used our department video camera, but the other 5 groups used their own, used their phones, used somebody else's. It was never an issue. I was thinking about that too. Are we going to have trouble scheduling our video camera? And there was no trouble at all. So, and I think they endorsed that idea of using technology versus doing it in class, writing a paper. I asked them about other assignments, and overwhelmingly the video was something that they preferred. So it gives them an opportunity to be creative. They work very hard on their videos, have fun. But again, I don't think this is just something that I can use in my social psychology class, nor do I think it's just something you can use in psychology. But using drama, whether it's live plays or whether it's video creation, I think is a technique that could be used in a lot of different disciplines. And it takes, what I found is it kind of takes what some students consider dry experiments and brings them alive. And so doing that as an active learning technique has been very effective. And I think I will continue to use the video creations. And last suggestion there too, it's something that, since this is a 4,000 level class, these are videos I can use to show my students in 2,000 and 3,000 level classes to say, here's some of the work that's being done as you continue. And of course, the whole idea of the contest got real big, and students are real excited about that too. So thinking about ways of trying to incorporate that into other courses as well. So if you have some lab funds in your departments, that's a creative way to use some of those lab funds. So I think we have a couple minutes for questions. Yes, Jeffrey?
Just 2 questions. First of all, did you grade this assignment? If you did grade it, how did you grade it? What was the method in which you graded it? Was it like pass, fail, or was it?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I don't do pass, fail.
Well, okay. How did you grade it? Did you?
Again, I have, there's a rubric that I include in the syllabus, and looking at different areas. The major points, it's a 50-point assignment, and part of that is a group grade, but I also don't just give group grades, because that, when you lose the accountability, that's just not a good idea. So there's a part of it that's a group grade, most of it is an individual grade. I get them, they also fill out an assessment of what they did and what everybody else in the group did, and I compare those from each person, because you can only see so much with the video, but someone might have spent 50 hours behind the scenes editing and putting that together, so, you know, kind of get that all together in those assessments, and then kind of grade on content issues, and then also kind of performance, and kind of what Carl was saying in the content delivery and in the execution as well. So yeah, I look at all those factors. Yes, Becky?
Did you penalize them for going over, or how do you manage that
No,
with
I
time?
was always that person. My speeches always went way long. My papers were always much longer than they were supposed to be. So no, I don't.
Overachiever.
I penalized for too short.
Short, okay.
You know, if their video would have been 9 minutes and 59 seconds, I would have been taking points off. But again, the shortest one was 13 minutes,
Right.
you know. Most of them were 16 or 17 or 18 minutes long. And they were saying, you know, we had to cut this down from 35. You know, so they spent way more time on the assignment than I even anticipated that they would. And I think part of that was the incentive of the competition.
I did a similar project, and just with the time allotted to watch them, ran into a little bit of trouble with fitting the longer ones in. So I didn't-
Yeah, and I did this on 3 on Tuesday, 3 on Thursday,
Okay.
so that we had the hour and 20-minute class,
That
and
helps.
so, yeah, that worked out well. Yeah, with the Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, that would be more
By the
challenging.
time you get spooled up.
Yeah. Yes, Colleen?
I just had a question, if you think maybe this could be adaptable to online. I realize you can't do the groups because they're geographically separate, but would something like this work for them to do with family members or friends? Do you think that would be something?
Yeah, and I
that-
allowed them, thank you, Colleen, I forgot to mention that. They were allowed to use as many Confederates as they wanted, and so most of their videos did include family members, friends, the other people on campus, so they did get, so yes, I think this could be adapted to use online. I think a lot of our online students have webcams, or again, they have video on their phone, and they could probably put something together. I would probably make it a shorter video, since it would just be kind of an individual project, maybe 5 to 7 minutes. But yes, I definitely think it could be something that could be adapted for use online, and I think they would enjoy watching each other's videos. Yes, Brad?
Was part of the grade tied to technical
Yes.
editing
Part of it
and?
was, a very small part.
Right, okay.
Especially since this was the first time I had done it, and I didn't really know how they would do.
Right.
So yes, that was like 5 points. So that was a very small part of it, but yes, the group that lost their audio file did,
Right.
you know,
Uh-huh.
suffer for that. So, but yes, so small part for technical issues. Yes.
I'm interested, how much, what do you think would be the result if you did your research paper and you gave a $50 gift certificate or something for the best? I mean, how much of this is the video format and the group project, and how much is the public recognition and reward?
Right. Yeah, that's a good further research question to look at. I have not used this type of incentive before. This was the first time I did something like this. And so I've not used it with a paper or a different kind of assignment, but there's a topic for next year's conference. Somebody can follow up on that. That's an interesting idea of where the effect comes from.
All right, let's thank Dr.
Thank you.
Sheafer.